Okay, welcome back into our virtual draft party 2020 presented by Miller Lite. And I am now joined by Backstreet Boy Nick Carter and more importantly, Bucs super fan. All
Yeah.
right. I mean, first of all, I'm so excited that you're here and I love the jersey. That's looking good. Yes.
In the house, baby.
In the house. All right. So first of all, let's start at the beginning in case people are like, wait a minute, we didn't know he was a Bucs fan. Tell us why you are such a big Bucs fan.
Well, you and we spoke about this a while ago when I was doing the Vegas residency. And I give you like a little backstory. So basically it all started when I was around 10 years old. Moved to Tampa from upstate New York when I was, when I was around like 6. And then, at that time, my family was like Buffalo Bills fans. And so I'll never forget like 4 years in a row actually watching the Bills, go to the Super Bowl and lose and lose and lose and lose. And I was so when I went to Orange Grove, which is in Tampa, I'll never forget. It was actually Orange Grove and Miles Elementary, the two schools that I went to before I joined the Backstreet Boys. I remember just getting made fun of, for being like a Bills fan. And I was like, well, hold on. Like I'm living in Tampa. So I think I have a choice. I can make a choice. Right. And so I chose to, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a Bucs fan. But what really kicked it in was the fact that I went to a school for dance called Carl and DeMarco, and Sandy Carl, who was the choreographer for the Swashbucklers at the time, around the early 90s. She choreographed everything, and I became sort of like a part of the halftime show at Sombrero, the stadium. And so one of the first things before I even joined the Backstreet Boys, I was performing at the halftime show for the Creamsicle Buccaneers. And I'll never forget, going into the stadium and going out there for maybe that 4-5 minute performance and looking around and being like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like everything was all orange. And, I was so small at the time. I was like maybe like 10, 11 years old. And I just remember just being sort of like captivated by the team itself. And so that's when it really started for me and started to grow and grow. And then obviously the Tony Dungy era came in, and, they did the right thing by changing the jerseys. And so it just kind of like, that's how it really all happened with me. And I just stuck with them. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to be loyal. And over the years, I've become sort of like a little crazy loyal, and been very vocal, especially for the past 5 years, actually the past 10 years, where basically it's just been a lot of lows. And so now, there was times when I would be screaming at the past GMs or the coaches, Shiano, whomever. I'm like, what are you doing? Draft this person, fire this person. And I was so crazy. I thought maybe they were actually listening to me. I thought like I'm actually maybe I'm having some influence on this team. I don't know. Something's happening. And then I realized I wasn't. But then I started kind of like weaseling my way in and becoming like friends with a lot of the different guys, like who were actually the coaching staff. And then I became friends with Jason Light, and then I was also friends became friends with Mark Cook at Pewter Report. And so I'd be calling up Mark Cook all the time and getting like inside information. And then the past couple of years, I just kept starting to see these things like change and like develop. And I was just really happy, you know what I mean, to see where it's gone to. But as far as answering the question that you asked me, that's when it all started, was in the early 90s. And I could say in a lot of ways that it was the Buccaneers that, and obviously Sandy Carl and the Swashbucklers that actually helped me, form and become a better dancer and singer and entertainer. So
that's awesome. I love that. We actually had a couple fan questions for you from our Facebook page that this is going live at. And one of them had asked when your first Bucs game was. Was your first game actually the one you performed in?
Well, I guess you can say, yeah, it was probably, I don't remember exactly what the game was. And I just remember us being really bad in those creamsicle times. But yeah, that had to be the first game that I had gone to and watched. But I do remember going on, because at that time, being like, 10 years old, I was so small. I was so like little, and I just remember these giants. Like, these guys were so big. I thought they were like gladiators, and like just giants. And I just thought it was so cool.
That is awesome. I love that. And then, of course, I got to get your thoughts. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski coming to the Buccaneers. What was your reaction when that happened?
Well, honestly, I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock. I don't know how to think about it. I'm really worried. I mean, obviously, thankfully, we got him for 2 years. And, I'm thinking to myself, I'm hoping we play, and but it's just kind of like surreal, and it feels like, and I was very vocal too on my Twitter. I was just basically saying, like, as far as Tom Brady goes, I'm just very sensitive to it. I don't want to jinx anything. Is my point. You know what I mean? I don't want to say anything. I'm just gonna be like, just keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. And then when Gronk came in, I was like, I'm going all in. I don't care anymore. And so then I put up like this Goonies picture of with one of the Fratellis, and her thanking Mr. Willie. She's like, thank you, Mr. Willie. You've made my day. And I just put hashtag Gronk, because I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start believing that this has actually happened. And you know what? Honestly, like, I kind of thought that, like, obviously we had a chance. And look, I know Jason Light, him and I talk every now and then, and he's a great GM, and I think he's had his, hiccups along the way. But he's really, always found a way to really, make it work. And I'm glad that the Glazers stuck with him. And you could almost like look back a little bit, and you could maybe see these seeds had been planted years ago. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, you never know. But if you think about it, you start with Bruce, obviously bring Bruce in, and change the culture of the team, and then everyone loves Bruce, like he's kind of like, in my opinion, he's like an Andy Reid, that kind of just hasn't all clicked for him. And to see it, him to finally get a quarterback that I think he wanted, you know what I mean? And that he wanted to play for. Because, I mean, look, how many years does Bruce have left? Nobody really knows. I do believe, he's to come in and change the culture, and he wants to have fun. So if it's a couple more years, he wants to have fun with it. And Jason gave him a bunch of great gifts, so I'm really happy for him.
All right, well, we'll close with this. Linda from the Facebook group asked, who do you think the Bucs are going to take with the first round pick tonight?
Well, I think I have a feeling that Jason and Bruce have both probably asked Brady, who he wants. And if it was me, I would obviously, look, you paid a lot of money to Brady. You want to protect him. You and I were just talking about this before. I mean, I'm hoping it's a lineman. I'm like the guy from Georgia a lot. But again, I think what happened was with the acquisitions of these two guys, from Gronk to Brady. I think it kind of filled a lot of holes, and because of that, now we only have a couple more pieces, and that's running back and offensive lineman, which is what I think. So to answer the other question, I think I would love to take DeAndre Swift. I think that would be an incredible, addition. Somebody who can kind of complement, Rojo.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. All right, well, we love hearing from you, man. Great to see you. Great to see you in that awesome jersey. Thanks again for being with us, and enjoy the draft tonight.
Go Bucs, baby! Woo!
That's awesome. All right, well, for the rest of you watching, real quick, we're going to take a quick break as we look back at Jamel Dean watching the film of his fellow rookie